The following is a presentation from PokerStars.com.
For me, it started small. From pool halls in Toronto to poke rooms in Las Vegas.
It's given me a life
I never could have dreamed.
The game has taken me around the world. I've seen it all.
From the Windy City to Sin City.
This game can make you a legend.
This game can make you a champion.
It may have started small.
It may have started
But now, it's the big game.
This is the next generation.
It doesn't get any bigger than this.
This is the PokerStars.com Big Game.
Welcome to the Big Game from Las Vegas. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. And tonight there's already $1.2 million in play, the most ever to start a big game table. So the chips could be flying tonight in our state-of-the-art poker room.
Of course, Daniel Negreanu is a contributor to our biggest game of all time. Never want to do the minimum. Daniel's bought in for $200K.
The 05 main event champ Joe Hachem makes his big game debut, and he's bringing $100,000.
William Reynolds is the loquacious 21-year-old new kid on the block. We'll see if he's got the right stuff tonight.
David Peat, a.k.a. Viffer, is back. When we first saw him, Viffer was aggressive with his play and his biting words.
Here at the big game, some people attempt to do more than the minimum, and we encourage that. Tony G starts off with 500,000 pieces of flair.
And the loose cannon is Elizabeth Houston from Alberta, Canada. She was recently laid off from her job at eBay, where she worked as a member of the Internet Police. Tonight, Elizabeth is being staked $100,000, and she's with Amanda Leatherman.
All right, Elizabeth, you told me earlier before the show how confident you are that you can win money here today. You still feel confident?
Yeah, I'm still feeling fairly confident. I mean, it is an exciting lineup, but I'm really just here to play the game that got me here and hope that'll take me the rest of the way.
If you win money here, what are you going to do with it?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do actually is I have a beautiful little nephew whom is 8 and I absolutely love, and he does suffer from autism, so I would love to contribute to some sort of treatment for the disease, or I'll set him up with some sort of trust fund so that when he gets older he won't have to struggle.
Well, that's amazing. I'm sure everybody's pulling for you. Good luck, okay?
Thank you.
Once again, each cannon staked $100,000 and keeps all profits above the initial $100K. At season's end, the loose cannon who's won the most money earns a North American Poker Tour passport worth $50,000.
Well, hello there.
Hello.
Okay, so who are you?
I'm Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, where are you from?
Canada.
No kidding.
Yeah?
What part?
Alberta.
Nice.
Yeah.
Freezing over there.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Hand one.
Okay, let's
just
play
like
poker.
That?
Are you like a professional poker player?
No.
What do you do?
No. Actually, I was recently laid off. I used to work at eBay as the eBay police.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're the eBay police.
Yeah.
Where did you work for, eBay?
You work for
eBay.
eBay police.
I used to be the
With
eBay
all those
police.
fake signs.
Sorry.
Wow.
Action begins on Elizabeth.
Ready to go.
So she's part of the Internet Police?
She folds.
I was the eBay police.
So what did you do, like people that were putting fake stuff up there?
I worked in the prohibited items department, so, imaginary friends and wind captured in jars, or
Wind captured in jars.
or people's dirty underpants.
Dirty
stuff like
underpants. I heard those things sell like hotcakes.
that. They do. Yeah,
You
they're
have to
not
take those
allowed
off,
though.
though?
You got to take them off.
There goes that idea. Joe's raised to 1,200. Action on William Reynolds. Queen 5 suited. Folds. Pocket pair for Viffer.
I don't know what Viffer's name means, but he's typically good for more action than a Michael Bay movie.
He re-raises to 3,600.
It's a pretty loose re-raise, and I don't know how much credit he'll get since it's the first hand. But speaking of action,
Tony G calls with ace-jack. Joe calls.
I wish I could fold.
I wish you could fold too.
Like, you made it so cheap.
See, I already know. I knew how this was already going to be.
All right, first hand.
I'm going to bet in the dark.
1,000.
Viffer bets in the dark. 9-5 queen. All diamonds. Viffer's bet 1,000. Tony with the nut flush draw calls. Hachem folds.
Viffer's looking pretty guilty already.
And Viffer bets in the dark.
Wow.
Again. 7 of diamonds. Tony makes his flush.
25.
Huge raise.
2 to 25. Eat some of that.
Welcome to the game, fellas.
No small ball in here. This is hand one, Miss Loose Cannon. Hand one.
Are you buckle up?
Yeah.
Viffer folds.
Oh, one is exposed, and it's the 6 of clubs.
I meant to show the
You
6
just
of
got
diamonds.
owned. You got to have hot. You got to have hot, Viffer.
I had 5, 6 of clubs.
Almost.
Could have raised it. See where you stand.
They're throwing out pancakes already. Things could get tasty.
Here are the rules of the big game. Each table lasts exactly 150 hands. The action pre-flop is pot limit, then no limit after the flop. Blinds are 2 and 400 with a $100 ante, all of which is paid by the player on the button. Every player begins with at least $100K, but can reload for up to $500,000.
Tony G's the first official two-time member of the 500 Club. He's actually the only member.
William Reynolds, ace-8 suited. Limps.
What? That's so shocking. I've never seen you ever do that online.
Daniel and Will are quite familiar with each other since they play together a lot in Daniel's room.
In the first hand in the big game that I go to play.
Tony raises to 2,000 with ace-8 suited. Cannon folds.
What I was going for, eh?
Huh?
He wanted to make
So's Daniel.
action in his first hand played on TV.
Trying to go multiple levels here, yo. See, I already got you confused.
I'm so confused.
Daniel doesn't know
He
what I
limped
have.
in. He never does that.
I'm gonna call this one.
Maybe you're just
You know,
scared.
Take 4 chips out, put 2 back in.
Deuce, queen, 7, both whiff on the flop.
What a deal. Check.
Reynolds checks.
I go to see better, don't I?
Tony bets 3 grand.
He's using his position.
And William folds.
3 Gs works.
I flopped the back door.
You flopped the back door.
Tony, who are you going to needle today? Phil's not here.
I'm still waiting.
Times, but I can't straddle on Daniel's button.
He's going to probably end up needling her.
I'll re-straddle it. Here you go.
Okay, so it's re-straddled.
Okay, we have action. We have straddles and re-straddles.
You're not going to come and own me here.
So we had a straddle by Viffer and a double straddle by Tony.
You guys are fun.
King Jack suited for the cannon.
How much is it?
This is a crucial moment for a loose cannon. You can tell a lot by how much that first raise is for.
Yum, yum.
Just a call.
Where'd you say you were from again?
All right.
Alberta.
Alberta.
I'm going to visit. I'm coming to visit.
Ace-9 suited for Daniel.
Can I come and visit?
Yeah.
I'm coming.
You can handle -40. You're more than welcome.
I can handle it.
Daniel may interpret Elizabeth's limp as dead money.
Daniel re-raises.
I'm going to be honest here. I'm rooting for you in this hand, all right?
Everyone's rooting for you.
Everyone always roots for the loose cannon.
Except if you're in a hand with her.
Action folds back to the original straddler.
How much is it?
$6,600.
See, if you do it the right way, it's only 4 chips.
Calls.
I'm
So it's
out.
not that much.
Tony folds.
Viffer feeling a little frisky with 7-3.
But the cannon's
All
not.
right, me and Viff.
Limp folding isn't exactly the table image you want to start off with.
King 10-10
Viffer's got top air right now.
and checks.
Thinking about so many different things.
Like, what's this?
I've watched you on the show. I know what you like to do, so I don't know how to play this hand. I have no idea.
That means he checks.
Okay, he's right.
That's fair.
Yeah, he checks. The turn, ace of clubs, giving Daniel top pair. Viffer checks.
I'm supposed to bet that card for sure.
That's a good thing he checks again.
I check again.
Daniel checks.
For your live reads are on today.
They are actually on.
5 of clubs on the river.
Now you're gonna bet big. That's what you do. I've watched the show. You check to the river, and then you bet big. 4,000?
Yep.
Viffer's attempting to steal it, but I don't think Daniel can fold for that little with top pair.
Folding is out of the question. Just so you know, you can
relax.
I'm not folding, so you can muck now if you want.
That's a good news. That means he's going to raise.
I might raise you.
That's good.
Nope, just a call.
All right, let's see him.
I told you I wasn't folding. You could have folded before that. Oh, that's fun. Cool.
You got the extra.
Daniel wins a pot of more than 25 grand.
I like playing with these guys. They're fun.
Oh, yeah? You won your first pot.
It's like Christmas every day.
Look, I got chips for Christmas. What'd you get? G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip.
Christmas last year was a very painful day for me. I didn't open any presents. I just lost 150K.
Ho, ho, ho. The big game is just getting going. Much more from Las Vegas coming your way after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas, where our loose cannon, Elizabeth Houston, is fulfilling her poker dreams. Although this Canadian is a small-town girl, she's hoping to hit it big for a cause close to her heart.
My name is Elizabeth Houston, and I'm from Stony Plain, Alberta, Canada. Well, I'm just absolutely honored to be the first Canadian chosen to take this task on, and I feel like, in a way, me playing this game is kind of proving that if you have a dream, you should just chase it, and you can accomplish anything, no matter what stands in your way. You can do it if it's what you want to do. Who am I playing for? Wow.
Because me and Liz are twins, we've always been really close. And one of the main reasons she's playing today is because when I was 19, I had a son. And when he was 4, he was diagnosed with autism. And just that.
One thing that I've always wanted to do is maybe set up a fund for him or do some research to maybe try and help him, because you always worry about what place, you know, a child like that will have in future society, you know?
And maybe that there can be a treatment one day, and she wants to help find that treatment to save the little souls that are trapped in their own minds.
If I was able to win an amount that would somehow be able to help him or help cure the disease entirely, that would really mean a lot to me.
Joe, how can you not be pulling for this young lady?
I think everyone's pulling for her. Maybe even Nadia Magnus, who is currently in the lead for that NAPT passport worth $50,000.
Well, to pass by Nadia, Elizabeth has to stare down some of the world's best, including Tony G, who has opted to straddle this hand. So action begins on the cannon. Houston, hello, with aces.
800 to call.
She limps.
Very risky.
I'm so scared to have a hand here. Oh.
Not again.
All right, I'll just play nice this time. They're all going to yell at me if I keep picking on you.
Daniel calls. Joe folds. Reynolds out. Viffer calls.
I'll raise it.
Pocket pair for Tony. Announces a raise to 4,800.
Elizabeth listed Tony G as her favorite poker player. Maybe she knew he was going to do this, because right now I'm pretty nervous the way she's playing these aces.
I'll make it 16 total.
Yeah! Hey!
Elizabeth had a plan. She set the trap, and Tony took the bait.
Tony, but what happened to just playing nice and seeing a flop?
It's 12 more.
Viffer?
I just like to look in her eyes. It's like, you know.
Viffer folds, but goes all in with flirt.
Do you have aces?
Good read.
No.
I'll be your lawyer. You don't have to answer any questions.
I take the 5th. No aces.
No, you should call.
No, but you should call.
I should call. You want me to call?
Sure.
Really?
Call. $12. All right, just for you.
If Tony hits a 5, he could get her entire stack.
I check in the dark.
The flop, 10-7-9.
I checked.
Once again, Tony's checked.
Safe flop so far, but it is a wet board.
I bet 25.
Cannon fires.
25,000, Tony. I got a feeling this is gonna be a big hand. This is gonna be a big, big hand.
I had one to fold this one.
What'd he say?
Tony's got like the 4-8. He doesn't know what to do.
I am beating Ace King, by the way, and a lot of other cards.
So am I.
You're beating Ace King?
Correct.
All right, that was a present.
Tony folds.
I saw the 4.
She wins the pot, but her talking let Tony off easy.
5s. He didn't want to see a 5.
I thought it was going to be Tony.
Elizabeth Houston has already turned a profit.
Pretty good start.
That's a wonderful start.
All right, Joe, we're only 6 hands in, but it appears that our latest loose cannon, Elizabeth Houston, has already made quite an impression on the rest of the table.
Well, picking up aces certainly doesn't hurt, but something tells me that you're not referring to the cards. As much as these guys seem smitten by Elizabeth, I really don't think having a woman at the table will affect the way these pros play. When they look across the table, they won't see a woman. Heck, they won't even see a man. They'll be looking at men. Mr. Franklin, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Lincoln, or maybe even 100,000 Mr. Washingtons instead.
So did you watch all the shows and prep for Tony G?
Mm-hmm.
You did? Mm-hmm. He's a tough one
I'm a
to
big
prep for.
Tony G fan.
I know you are, I heard. You married, Tony G?
I'm not.
You're not married?
Not married.
Are you married?
Not married, but I'm committed.
Tony's not married. She's not married. The big love connection game.
All right, now this is just getting awkward. But good working with you, Chris. Bring in Woolery. I'll be back in 2 and 2.
We could actually combine game shows. We could have like Bachelor number 1, Bachelor number 2. This will be fun. Ace Queen suited for William Reynolds. Raised to 1,500.
15. Under the pot. I could have raised more than that if I wanted to.
Action folds over to the cannon. Jack 10. Calls.
It's a loose call, but not crazy.
Ace Jack for Daniel in the small blind.
Up into SB.
He squeezed his cards, but is he going to squeeze the pot?
Nah, I'll just see a flop.
Yeah,
You scare me.
So.
Daniel calls. Joe folds, so 3 to the flop.
Daniel has opted not to squeeze the pot.
Jack 5-6.
Check.
Daniel checks top pair.
Check.
Reynolds checks.
Elizabeth's got top pair, but she is outkicked. She could end up giving back all the money she just won.
3,000.
Always betting.
She fires 3,000.
Always betting, always betting. Okay, make it with 10 more on top.
Daniel repops to 13,000.
Daniel knows he's going to have the best hand here a huge percentage of the time.
Reynolds folds.
Daniel's hoping Liz will call with a worse hand just like the one she's got.
You got a lot to think about, huh? Do your thing. Take your time. Figure it out.
Daniel's raise could save Elizabeth a lot of money here.
I really don't care what you do. Not at all.
10,000.
This is one of the...
All right. I really didn't care what you did.
Good fold.
But you did the right
Is Mr.
thing.
Negreanu going to show?
No.
He had a flush draw.
Flush draw.
Just a whole lot of heart.
And commitment.
And commitment.
Gotta have hot.
Houston has hot. She also has a profit. See if Elizabeth's feel-good story can continue when we come back. Welcome back to Las Vegas, where William Reynolds is making his debut on the big game.
This toe-headed 21-year-old learned to play on the old internet. He's from Sioux City, Iowa. He's got just over $1 million in live tournament winnings. And online, he goes by Ultram Ultras, which loosely translated means the chosen one. So hopefully he'll be able to lead us all out of the matrix and cue the green lights.
Daniel says that I can kind of believe it when David Peat says I'm not afraid of
He's not afraid to commit to as many single moms as need be.
Hey, there you go, yeah.
Hey, I fall in love one song at a time. I'm not ashamed.
You hear that?
Viffer straddled, Tony folded, Houston's out, and now aces for Daniel.
Set. We have a straddle.
Okay.
What's this?
This is $28.
$28?
$28.
Actually, $2,800. Joe folds. William folds.
Just for the commentary during the hand, I'll call.
Viffer's in.
If you check, I'm going to bet this one. I'm going to Barry G it.
All right. I don't want to check then.
Oh, I'm going to probably raise you.
Viffer bets 400 in the dark and hits bottom pair.
That's not even a check. That's like just a waste of space.
Viffer's basically done this to prevent Daniel from continuation betting.
How about raising?
How much is that?
54.
Viffer calls.
Daniel's raising an amount that makes it look like he's trying to get rid of the Viffer.
Viffer bets in the dark again. 9 of spades on the turn, giving Viffer a flush draw.
Viffer's basically checking by betting, so his call on the flop isn't so bad up against any random continuation bet.
Daniel raises to 12-4.
Now that he's got a pair and a flush draw, he may not be going anywhere.
Why do you always raise me?
You're not really betting. That's not really a bet. 400.
Whoa, repop to 41-4.
This is a pretty scary board for two aces. 7-8 and King-Queen both just got there. Spades picked up more outs. Now, it is way more likely that Viffer would be semi-bluffing here than he is to actually have something. So while technically this is a 3-bet, it really is just a raise.
Daniel calls.
Interesting card coming.
Another 400 from Viffer in the dark and a set of aces for Daniel.
Oh, my God. What are you doing, Viffer? He's mashing my brain into bits.
It is very peculiar the way he's played this hand.
Oh, boy. I really wish you would have bet like 50 or 60,000. Oh, this is gonna be so pansy-like. I'm the biggest pansy of all time. I'm such a chicken, only because you're so creative and tricky and all this funky stuff. You could actually bet 400, hope I make a legit raise, and then just, boom, blow me off the hand. And I'm too scared of that. Just flat out, fear. This is just a fear call.
He calls.
That means this will make the highlight reels.
What do you got?
Nothing, of course.
Oh, good. That's good for me. I almost folded, I swear. I really did.
Have a 3.
I almost folded, I absolutely swear. No, I mean, not on the river, but wow.
Daniel picks up the first six-figure pot of the week.
400.
Quite a difference from his last big game appearance, in which he was stuck over 333 grand.
All right, I need a new game plan. 1, 2, 3 doesn't work.
I wish I had Viffer's money.
Please note, Joe Hachem is the 6th winningest tournament player of all time and has won nearly $11 million.
And Hachem should be patient. He might be getting Viffer's money by the end of the night. The cannon gets rid of 5 high. Daniel still amazed by that last hand. Ace queen. Yeah, I read that. Raises to 1,200. Joe Hachem calls. Jack 8 for Reynolds.
Raising a call and I have to fold my button, Danny. Brutal couple first orbits.
Reynolds folds. Viffer is called. So's Tony.
Raising a call don't mean much to Mr. G, even out of position.
The flop, Jack 5-10, 2 clubs. Viffer top 2. That's 400. Tony raises to 3,000 with bottom pair.
Viffer bet some weird amount again, so Daniel might like his overcard gut shot combo.
Likes it enough to call. Hachem folds.
Viffer's basically given himself a very unconventional check raising opportunity if he wants it.
There it is to 6,000.
That's a min raise.
Tony calls. So does Daniel.
Viffer hasn't made it very expensive for Tony and Daniel to draw.
King of hearts on the turn as Daniel hits his gut shot. Action on Viffer.
This is a terrible card for Viffer. Looks like he still likes his hand.
Fires 6,400.
Tony's picked up an open ender to go with bottom pair. Why would he leave now?
Yeah, he's sticking around. He calls.
Daniel's got the nuts, and this is a very coordinated board, so it's a good spot for a value raise. Viffer let out and Tony called, so there's a pretty good chance at least one of these guys will call you.
Daniel raises to 34-4.
We already mentioned it's a draw-heavy board, so Daniel's charging.
Having 28,000?
Oh, yeah, the last few
Daniel's given Viffer terrible odds to draw to his full house, though Viffer might not be sure he's drawing.
If I lose all my money, the same, will you still go have dinner with me later?
Sure.
Then I guess Daniel can pay for it.
Viffer pays for it. Here. Wow. Tony folds.
There was incentive with that.
I got added equity.
Yeah, added equity.
I get the dinner.
Dinner equity.
From what I understand, 28 dimes wouldn't be the most Viffer's ever spent on a night out.
Hey, a pot
There's a bet again. Pre-river. 4 clubs.
That does complete a flush draw, so it might be a bit of an action killer. Looks like Daniel wants to bet it anyway. Could be because with the ace of clubs in his hand, he knows Viffer wouldn't have been drawing to the nuts and probably would have played a flush draw a little harder on the turn.
Daniel raises to 32-4.
Viffer can't really like this at all.
Hard to tell by the twists and turns on his face.
Daniel let Viffer off the hook on the river earlier when Daniel had aces. He's not making that mistake again.
Will you buy dinner? Because I might not be able to afford it now.
This guy's got game.
I'm probably going to fold. But if I call, I don't want you to be upset.
Viffer folds.
You want me to be upset?
You didn't have it, did you?
No. I didn't have
No,
it.
you didn't have it.
Live reads, they're working now?
I didn't have it. Oh. I had a good hand, though. I mean, I have nothing.
Better cancel those Nobu reservations, Viff. After that last hand, you might be taking the loose cannon to the buffet. We'll see if Viffer continues his crazy play on Elizabeth and the rest of the table after this. If you want more of the big game, you can see bonus hands, extra stats on this table, as well as footage deemed too hot for TV on the website. Action begins on Joe Hachem because Daniel is straddled.
I picked up a flush draw.
I had a queen high flush draw. On the river, I did.
No, you did.
Still talking about the last hand. Hachem raised to 2,500.
It's a pretty loose raise, unsuited under the gun.
Action folds around to the cannon, who's out. Fours for the straddler, who calls. The flop, ace, 8, 10, all spades. Daniel, the only one with a spade, and checks. Hachem, middle pair.
35.
Makes it 3,500 to go.
35.
Daniel will sometimes have the best hand in this spot.
And he calls.
He's got the best draw.
King of spades on the turn, giving Daniel a flush.
This is a weird spot for Daniel because you're either way ahead or way behind.
He fires 5,000.
Daniel's thinking that without a spade, Joe would pretty much have to give up this hand. He doesn't appear to be giving up.
Nope, he raises to 13,000.
Daniel's bet was pretty small. Maybe Joe sensed weakness and decided to try to make a move on him.
Daniel calls.
Move hasn't worked so far.
Jack of clubs on the river, giving Joe 2 pair. Daniel checks his flush.
Joe's got 2 pair, but he's going to have to rep bigger if he wants Daniel to fold. Let's see how badly he wants to blow Daniel off his hand.
How's 28,000?
This is a bluff designed specifically to get Daniel to fold exactly the type of hand he's got, a weak spade. Let's see if it works.
I feel like flipping a coin, but then I'll hope it comes to call. Do you ever do that?
Oh, yeah.
Flip a coin, but you want it to be call at the end? Okay, I don't have the queen of spades. Just want to make that clear.
Sure Joe likes that.
Thing is, I've seen you do this before. Who was it against? It was Howard Lederer.
You remember that?
Yes, and it was 4 flush, and you didn't have anything.
So long ago.
Yeah, and you just totally bluffed him in the same exact spot. Where you raised the turn, you bet the river, and you didn't have it, and he folded a better hand. And I feel like he might do the same thing.
Total recall.
See, if I knew you watched television, I wouldn't do the same thing, would I?
There's only one problem, Daniel. If you watch TV, nobody would ever try to bluff you. I'm just trying to tell you. If you've ever watched, nobody would try to bluff you.
Oh, man, I was going to fold. I mean, I was going to call, and now I think I might fold. Damn it.
Even though Daniel's got a flush, it's only a bluff catcher at this point. No worse hand would ever bet this for value.
We made a real good show, yes.
I changed my mind. I don't know, my first instinct was call, and I'm folding.
Daniel folds.
Oh!
Bad?
Sorry, Joe.
Did you show a spade?
And Joe shows.
Oh, if I knew I should have my first instinct. I had the 4 of spades.
Wow.
High five.
All your table talk won it for him.
And Daniel turns over a new leaf one hand too soon.
So with that hand, Joe Hachem has now turned a profit up 17K, but it's Daniel who leads things courtesy of 2 big pots he took off of Viffer earlier. Elizabeth Houston's also up. The cannon sits at 13.5.
Remember, if Elizabeth finishes this table above $100,000, she will have the option to either keep her profits or come back one more time to try to increase her stack.
I fold this one.
Action folds to Viffer. 9-6 suited. Raises to 2,500. Ace-7 suited for Tony G. Repops to 7,000. The cannon folds, and Daniel's out.
Tony knows Viffer's got a super wide raising range and that he hates folding to 3 bets.
Viffer calls. The flop. 4-Jack-6. Viffer flops middle pair. Action on Tony, who checks. So does Viffer. Jack of clubs on the turn.
That shouldn't change much. We'll see if Tony wants to bet his ace high.
He does, betting 10,000.
Viffer knows Tony probably would have bet a jack already, so he just may want to get to cheap showdown at this point.
Viffer calls.
We'll have to see if Tony will keep firing on the river or if that call will stop him in his tracks.
The river, the king of diamonds.
That's going to be a scare card for both players. Let's see if Tony does indeed keep firing.
Nope. Neither does Viffer.
Just don't show me 2 10s.
Viffer shows his 6s are good enough. And after taking it on the chin the first few hands, Viffer picks up a pot of nearly 36 grand.
The yum yum?
Yum yum.
The loose cannon continues to have a great time at the big game. Will she continue to add to her stack? Find out after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas. A moment ago, Joe Hachem pulled off a bluff against Daniel Negreanu to get himself into Profitville. The 05 world champ gives us the anatomy of a gotcha as we go behind the poker face.
So it's early days. We haven't played many hands yet. At this stage, already there's been a lot of action at the table. Daniel and I do have history. We've played a fair bit together, and what's interesting is both our styles have changed. I pop it to 2,500 with Jack 10 off. Gets folded around to Daniel and he calls. So the flop comes out Ace 10 8 with 3 spades. I have no spades. And he quickly checks, so I make a continuation bet of 3,500. I deliberately picked that number because it was a sort of number that would suggest that I didn't want to lose him just yet, although in reality I want him to fold.
Call.
So the king of spades comes on the turn and Daniel leads for 5,000. So instantly my instinct tells me he doesn't have the queen of spades. He may have a spade or 2 pair, but he does not have the queen of spades. So I think about it for a while and decide to pop it to 13,000. So that raise is kind of indicative of a hand like I've got ace queen with the queen of spades. So enough that he can't fold many real hands, but he can fold garbage. After thinking about it for a while, he calls. Now I kind of guess that he either has a small spade or he's got 2 pair. So the jack of clubs comes off on the river, and I figure I've got no chance of winning the pot here without betting. So as soon as he checks to me, I fired 28,000 after some consideration. And he thought about it forever. And what was interesting is he brought up a hand that I played a couple of years ago where I made the exact same play against Howard Lederer.
Thing is, I've seen you do this before.
You remember that?
Yes, and it was 4 flush and you didn't have anything.
So long ago. And then someone wisely said at the table,
If you watch TV, nobody would ever try to bluff you.
So I think he was calling up until that point where he kind of, the idea in his mind was that I'm not going to bluff him.
My first instinct was call and I'm folding.
And I had to show him it was TV, it's fun.
No! I knew I should have won my first instinct.
Daniel's a good guy, he takes it well. So I showed him the hand and took the pot.
Daniel folded a 4-high flush. Daniel remembered Joe's game film and it hurt him. Meanwhile, Joe ignored Daniel's and it worked out for him.
Now he's up almost 16,000. And Hachem is UTG.
That's under the gun for you civilians.
Ace-Jack. Raise.
All right, Joe grabs the stack and lets a few fall off the bottom.
Yo, just like, whoa. There you go.
Viffer calls. Tony's out. The cannon. Suited 1 gapper folds. So does Daniel.
Canadians will sit this one out.
Viffer playing loose even for Viffer.
Joe, you should just give me the spot now because, like, I saved you a bunch of money before.
5 ace 5 trips for Viffer, top pair for Joe.
We could see some money get into this pot.
Hachem checks.
Somehow Joe wisely doesn't c-bet.
Viffer checks as well, slow playing. Queen of hearts on the turn. Hachem bets 1,500. Viffer quickly calls.
Viffer setting a trap for a big river bet.
7 of clubs.
That does complete a flush draw, but Joe hasn't really played it like he's got a flush draw.
He checks.
Playing very cautiously.
Viffer fires 6,500.
It's a pot-sized value bet. He kept it pretty reasonable in a small pot to give himself the best shot of Joe calling with top pair.
Joe calls. Viffer shows trips and trips up the champ.
Same old Viff.
Same old Viff. Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. Wakes up with a 10-5.
Wakes up with a 10-5.
I'm surprised he didn't 3-bet with a hand that good.
So Viffer wins the hand, and you can mark him down for yet another pot, Joe.
Taking a look at the amount of pots won so far, Viffer has raked the highest percentage, which is not unexpected because we all know how much he likes to mix things up. What is surprising, though, somewhat, is the fact that William Reynolds has yet to dent the scoreboard.
However, pots won doesn't always translate into dollars won. Viffer's still stuck over 60 grand so far.
No big deal in the world of Viff.
Time did you get to bed last night, Viff? About 5:30 a.m.?
What's the longest you ever stayed up without sleeping?
You have to have
I think you sleep. I played Aaron Katz heads up one time for like 90 hours.
90 hours? Pretty solid.
90 hours, 0 showers.
You should have known not to mess with the Viff, right?
Action on William Reynolds, King 9 suited. Limps. Viffer. Pocket pair. Calls.
1,000.
Tony raises.
Keep it reasonable so I can afford the re-raise.
What did you do, make it 1,000?
I was like, make it 6. I made it 3, I could wipe Joe out in that hand.
Cannon's out. Daniel's in.
Friendly bet.
Hachem calls with Viffer's new favorite hand.
William's pretty much priced in, even though his hand isn't in great shape.
You are correct.
Hey-o.
I feel like I'm supposed to raise here.
It's what I just said to myself, but then I was like, take a family pot and I'll play the superstars.
There's the raise.
What'd you make it? 6? We're playing weird poker today.
Make it 6,000.
Oh, come on.
Now, Tony does have the best of the unpaired hands.
Kind of relieved in a way. I don't want to be in the pot with this hand out of position anyway.
All right, fine.
Daniel folds. So's Joe. So's Reynolds.
Okay.
No, pump fake.
Oh, come on.
Viffer calls. 5 tray king, second straight huge flop for Viffer. Fires 5,100.
Viffer's just played out of flow or a donk bet. He's trying to build a pot for himself, and this can be frustrating to your opponent because you take away their ability to continuation bet.
That was a quick bet.
Tony calls. Deuce of hearts on the turn, giving Tony a gut shot straight draw. Viffer still best and fires 5,000. Tony calls.
Now it's another 5 grand to Tony G.
4 diamonds on the river as Tony hits his straight. Viffer fires 5,000.
That's a pretty small bet.
Tony just calls and wins.
3.
That's the wheel.
This hand, the G stands for got there.
Oh, nice.
Poor Viffer lost the hand, and Elizabeth saw the whole thing.
It was hard to get there. He made me work for that.
You said just
Tony
a 3?
picks up a pot of nearly 46 G's.
You said you did say just a 3.
I think it was singular.
You were trying to be.
I think it was singular.
He was trying to be quick, cute, wasn't he? Yeah, just a 3.
He doesn't look so cute now, does he?
Viffer's love connection with the cannon may have hit a snag. We'll be back in what, Joe?
2 and 2.
We've played 28 of the 150 hands so far, and it looks like Viffer and Tony G are playing a lot alike.
They're fighting to be the alpha dog here at the table, ranking first and second in VPIP and pre-flop raise percentage. So they're playing a lot of hands and really trying to push the pre-flop action. Although both are down, it will be interesting to see if Tony G and Viffer can ultimately make their aggressive play profitable in the end, especially if they can point the guns away from each other.
You're so cute when you straddle, Viffer.
I'll raise it. I'll raise it in the dark. There you go. How fair is that? That's even fairer. That's being a complete donkey.
Already with a straddle and a blind raise. Nice healthy pot going. The cannon nor Daniel will be a part of it. King Queen suited for Joe.
And if anyone doesn't re-raise, I won't even look and I'll bet in the dark again.
I'll raise.
Re-raises.
These guys are professionals.
Everyone's got to be a pro here, right? Except the loose cannon.
They got to pick on the port G.
See, they're picking on the fat guys again. I just don't know who's fatter.
It's not me. Look in the mirror.
Boys, come on, not in front of Elizabeth.
Ace 5 for Tony as he finally gets a peek. He calls.
Typically, Joe would be super far ahead of Tony's blind raising range, but Tony's actually woken up with an ace.
And now he's got top pair.
Horrible flop for Hachem, who did hit second pair and is likely to think it's the best hand.
Bets 15,000. Tony quickly calls.
Joe's just gotten pretty unlucky that Tony actually has an ace in this spot.
6 of hearts on the turn.
Seems like Tony's calls maybe caused Joe to think about this a little harder.
Hachem checks. Tony bets 15,000.
Tony's dark play has actually worked out for him here. Joe knows Tony's likely to bomb this no matter what because Tony doesn't like giving up.
Excess is actually the best club in Vegas.
I like surrender.
Yeah, I prefer the moon. I have an amazing line for the moon. I go, hey girl, my name's Jimmy. Jimmy Neutron. Now let me take you to the moon. We take him to the moon.
Has that ever worked?
Heck yeah, it's worked.
I love him.
Like at least 3.
And what kind of girls were these?
Oh, they're pretty. They're pretty. Only pretty ones.
Pretty and
Would
stupid.
that work on you? Hi, I'm Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah, would that work on you, Amanda?
Let's go to the moon.
To the moon, baby.
We about to blast off.
I haven't been to any of those clubs, though Excess does have the gentlest bouncers. Meanwhile, action's still on Joe.
And Joe calls. The river, the 9 of clubs. Hachem checks. Tony bets 25 grand.
Joe's been bet into on the last 2 streets.
Show me one, Tony.
Which one would you like? As soon as you fold, I'll show you one. You call, you see both. You fold, you see one. It's not a bad deal.
Tell you right now, all I've got's a queen. So either I'm going to give you 25,000 or I'm going to fold. I don't know.
Well, either way, you got good value. And you're going to see 1 or 2 cards.
Pretty curious.
Such a friendly bet, though. It's a friendship builder.
Hachem calls.
5 and an ace.
Fantastic value bet by Tony on the river.
Tony gets a nice 6-figure pot.
Nice hand.
Nice hand, Mr. G.
It wasn't a slow roll because I didn't know which one was which.
You turned it up really fast. I know it wasn't a slow roll.
I never slow roll.
Nice hand.
Thank you.
Well, that hand puts Tony G up more than 19,000, and Hachem now sits at a deficit of over 51 grand. Daniel's gotten off to a nice start this week, and the loose cannon has turned a tidy little profit as well.
Elizabeth's play has been aces so far, literally. Let's see if she can fare as well without pocket rockets tomorrow.
And we'll see if she continues to feel the heat from Viffer and Tony G.
All right, guys, that was the last hand of the night. Elizabeth, nice first night. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm just having a lot of fun.
Tony, I have a feeling you're just getting started. Am I right?
Don't wind them up.
I'm just getting started.
All right, guys, that's it. I'm Amanda Leatherman saying goodbye for now. And remember, if you've got the cash and the guts, there's always a seat open at the big game. Good night, everybody. You're like the quiet one at this table.
This is a fun table. Everyone's so chatty.
For Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. See you tomorrow night.
That's a good shirt. You don't like it?
Well, Viff tells me I'm never gonna get into a club, let alone have the lady dance with me, let alone
You like to
anything.
dance?
Oh, I'm a dancer.
Really?
Are we human?
I'm just having a blast.
My awesome shirt on.
When I stop to like look around, I'm kind of having one of those like, am I really here with these people moments, you know? And I'm like, pull it back.
The preceding was a presentation from PokerStars.com.